Hello guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm actually going to be showing you guys a brand new parts list that I just went ahead and did a couple of minutes ago. I just thought about the idea that I haven't actually done a PC parts list in a little more than probably a month, maybe two, and I haven't uploaded a video in the last 2 weeks. And so today I had some time and I made the exception, and here I am looking at the camera and doing this parts list. So right now, let's get right into the parts and straight through. Starting off, I actually have the parts list right here on my phone just so I can know all the stats and everything. So starting up with the CPU, I actually chose the AMD Ryzen 5 3600. Now, for the fact that this CPU is only $200, $194.79 as it says here on my parts list, it is a 6-core 12-threaded processor, which, you know, recently AMD hasn't had the best record keeping up with single core performance against Intel, but with the new 3000 Ryzen 2 architecture, or the Ryzen 3000 series of processors, the actual single core speed of these processors has now almost reached Intel level. So the fact that you're getting 6 cores, 12 threads for under $300 on AMD's side is a really good bargain. So if you have the money, I would suggest going with the AMD Ryzen 5 3600 as opposed to maybe 3600X, because it's only going to be a marginal difference. You're not going to really notice that unless you're really good at overclocking and you know what you're doing and you want to get maybe squeeze that extra few frames or few percentages of performance from whatever you're doing. But to the average consumer, it's not going to really matter, and the savings are going to make just the 3600 a better deal for most of you. Now, for the CPU cooler. Now, I know that the 3600, since it's not an X model, actually comes with a CPU cooler, which, you know, if you really want to, you can keep that and you can probably overclock the CPU just a tiny little bit. It's not going to be that bad of a CPU cooler. But if you have the money, I would suggest going with the Be Quiet Pure Rock Slim 35.14 CFM CPU cooler. Now, the reason I chose the Be Quiet one is because, to me at least, sound is really important. You know, when you have a system, you want it to run cool, but you also want it to be quiet. And like the name suggests, this Be Quiet CPU cooler will keep things at a lower temperature while maintaining variable amounts of noise. One of the things I like is it's going to be quiet. You're not going to have to worry about having a constant really high decibel fan beside you all the time, and you're going to get a little bit more headroom for overclocking temperature wise with the CPU as opposed to the CPU cooler included already with the CPU. That's the reason I chose this. $35, pretty good deal, I would say. For the motherboard, I actually chose the MSI X570 Pro ATX AM4 motherboard. Now, one of the reasons I actually chose an X570 board as opposed to all the B450 motherboards out there that are super cheap is the fact that if you're building a PC from scratch and you've never had any other AMD CPU such as the AMD 2600 or 1600, you're not going to be able to actually use the motherboards such as the B450. The reason is you need a BIOS update. The thing is that you can actually request a dummy CPU from AMD themselves, but you know, it's this really long process, and if you really want to get gaming, it's not going to be ideal. And then again, X570, you're going to get a little bit more performance just because it's, you know, the new motherboard, and pairing up a new motherboard or a brand new release motherboard with a brand new release CPU is usually going to yield better performance than B450. Maybe not really big amount of performance, but it's for compatibility's sake and convenience, it's better just to get a X570 board instead of having to ask somebody else or get a dummy CPU from AMD themselves. It is a little bit expensive though at $150, because I found B450 motherboards for around $80, $60 even. So it might be a big compromise, but I guess if you have the time to wait, if you have the patience, you can get a B450 motherboard and wait a little bit, get a dummy CPU, and run the latest BIOS update, and then pop in your 3600 CPU. If that's what you want and save a couple of bucks, you can totally do that. But this is just the parts that I came up with. I actually chose Team T4's Vulcan 16GB 2x4 gig sticks rated at 3200 megahertz. It's 2019, it's about to be 2020, and 8 gigabytes, I feel like it's not gonna cut it. Not because it doesn't cut it now, but the future is, or I'm not gonna say, well, the future is essentially here, right? In a couple of months, maybe in beginning of next year, a lot of games right now even are starting to use 16 gigabytes for their recommended amount of RAM. So I thought, you know, RAM is really cheap right now. This kit will only cost you $70 and it's rated at 3200 megahertz, which will actually greatly increase the performance of the AMD CPU. The reason being, for some reason, AMD favors high frequency memory. The higher frequency memory you have, the better off the CPU performance will be. So that's the reason why I chose a 3200 megahertz kit. And for it being $67, it says right here $66.89. Really good price, really good performance. Team T-Force, they had some good stuff in the past. I'm not too knowledgeable on their brand, but they're not too bad. So you'll be safe there. It's not like some really cheap company that you just find out there. It was one of the cheapest that I found, but I know that it's a reputable brand and that you're gonna be safe with this kit of RAM. So 16 gigabytes, it's almost 2020, a no-brainer really. 8 gigabytes will get you by, but most other applications are starting to recommend 16, so might as well upgrade to 16 and maybe 32 down the line. Now for storage, one of the things I actually thought was the fact that it is 2020 almost, and you know, hard drives are not really the best speed-wise and reliability-wise. So that's why I chose this Silicon Power A55 1TB 2.5-inch solid state drive. It's only gonna run you 90 bucks. It's gonna be 1 terabyte, so it's gonna be more than enough storage for whatever you need. If you really need more storage, you can maybe squeeze in a 2 terabyte hard drive for another $70, or a higher capacity SSD depending on what you want. And the fact that it's an SSD will completely change your whole experience. You know, it's gonna make the whole computer snappier whenever it loads up, whenever it loads programs. Everything's just gonna run so much smoother with an SSD. That's why I chose a higher capacity SSD as opposed to maybe a lower capacity SSD and then a high capacity hard drive. And you know, the fact that it's an SSD and it doesn't actually have any physical components inside will actually make the whole system even quieter than it would have already been. So if you're considering memory, I would suggest just going with a high capacity solid state drive because it's not that expensive. It's only $90, 1 terabyte. So keep that in mind whenever you're picking out your next parts list or thinking about buying some memory storage. Now for the video card. So this is going to be a gaming PC, right? We want some FPS, we want to play 1080p titles no problem, or at least that's what this computer is aiming to do. So for that, I chose the Asus GeForce GTX 10, actually this is the GTX 1660 Ti 6GB Strix Gaming Advanced video card. This is $250, and I know it's not an RTX, but the reason I didn't choose an RTX card was because that would have drove the price $100 more than it otherwise would have. So this card is only $250. It'll be good for everything you need 1080p. However, if you are looking at the used market, one thing you should consider is looking into GTX 1070s, because in the used market, of course you're always taking a risk, but in the used market you're gonna find some pretty good deals on the 1070s, and GTX 1070s actually are a little bit better than 1660 Ti's. So if you're in the market and you want to save a couple of bucks, get a little bit more performance or bang for your buck, you might consider going with the used market and getting a 1070. But otherwise, I feel like the Asus, or rather GeForce GTX 1660 Ti, is a great value king for FPS. So give it a shot and see if you like it or not. For the case, I actually chose the NZXT H510 ATX mid-tower case. It is gonna run you a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say expensive, but it has a hefty price to it. It's an NZXT, so you're gonna get really good design and build quality out of this case. It is $80, so that you could buy another case, buy a cheaper case, but I feel like just the clean design of an NZXT case, its build quality, it has tempered glass. I feel like aesthetics, whenever you're building a PC, are something to consider when you're first even thinking about building a PC. Do you want just pure performance, pure horsepower, or do you want the looks, right? The RGB, the tempered glass, the nice fans, everything comes into consideration whenever you're thinking about building a PC, and that's the reason I chose this case. You know, it has the looks, it is really nice, the build quality is good, its price is not as bad as some other cases like Lee & Lee's cases, so pretty good case if I do say so. So now for the power supply, I chose the EVGA BQ600W 80 plus bronze certified semi-modular ATX power supply. The reason I chose this one is because it was fairly cheap at $65 and it was semi-modular. Now, what does this mean? You're not gonna have all those ugly cables attached and, you know, having to end up wasting space just to find somewhere to put those ugly cables. This actual power supply provides one cable that is permanently attached to the power supply, but those cables are gonna be the ones that you actually need anyway. And some of the cables that you may want to not have because you don't have a component that technically or uses those cables, you're going to be able to take apart and store them somewhere else in maybe a cabinet you have or something, and not be taking up space inside of the chassis of your brand new PC. It's 600 watts, which is more than enough for this build. If you want to, you could add more powerful or more power hungry CPU or a more power hungry graphics card if you really want to do that, but this is gonna be fine for most other builds. So for this one, it's gonna run perfectly. You're not really gonna have to worry about going over that voltage, so everything good here. Now the total price comes to $931.24, so it is under $1,000, but the price actually, it has a few things, right? The price by the components themselves without any mail-in rebates, without any promo codes or anything, is over $1,000. But I would suggest anyone who's building a PC or who is thinking of building a PC to consider taking advantage of that, those mail-in rebates, those promo codes available to you right now, because that drives the price of these components significantly down. I mean, if we just look at this with a promo code right now, it's $45 off of something, and then just in mail-in rebates is another $50 saved, right? So that right there is $95 of savings just by doing the mail-in rebates and the promo code. So if you're able to, do in fact use the mail-in rebates, use the promo codes to save you a bit of money, because that bit of money that you save can go towards anything else. Maybe you're buying a chair, maybe you're buying some fancy LED lights, or maybe you just want to put those $95 extra into more performance for your PC. Who knows? Take advantage of that money, because it's essentially free money or free discount that you're getting out of your purchase. Make sure you go and grab those components and those mail-in rebates as soon as you can, if you're able to. I guess that does it for today. I thought about just doing a PC build because I haven't done it in a long time. It felt great doing this. Maybe next time we're going to do a $2,000 PC build. Of course, I can't really buy these components because I don't have the money to. I don't have the means to go out, buy, and assemble all this and then test out the system. One, because of time, but more importantly because I don't have the money to buy such components. So this is the next best thing I can do. Hope you guys liked the video. Make sure to subscribe, share the video if you really want to, dislike or like, you know, just any feedback, and comment down below what you thought of this parts list. I'm so glad that we're in 2019, almost in 2020. Big things are happening, both AMD, Intel side, RAM is going down, you know, a lot of good things are happening. So hopefully by my next PC parts list, we pick out some better parts, get some better bargains, get some better deals, and make a better PC build for you guys to enjoy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.